Good morning. Donna Osborne Bradley was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. She came to St. Mary's in 7th grade and graduated in 1974. And she has lived in St. Louis, Missouri for the last 22 years, and she currently teaches human resource management and criminal justice courses to undergraduate and graduate students. Donna received a BA in political science from Brown University, a master's in criminal justice from Columbia College, a Juris Doctorate degree from Howard University School of Law, and a PhD in public safety and criminal justice from the Capella University. She's been an attorney for over 20 years, having practiced with the private law firm, the Department of Justice, and the National Labor Relations Board. For more than 19 years, she has taught in more than 5 universities and colleges. She served 16 years in an inner-city ministry, ensuring compliance with human resource and employment law matters, and being an advocate for disenfranchised populations. Dr. Bradley is an attorney licensed in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. She's a victim advocate and the executive director of the Sexual Assault Center in San Joaquin, California. She's the education and outreach coordinator at the St. Louis Metropolitan Equal Housing and Opportunity Council, where she educates realtors, landlords, tenants, and the whole community about housing discrimination and their rights under the Fair Housing Act. Donna has been married over 20 years to Larry, and she has 3 sons, one waiting for her in heaven, David, then Myron and Dominic, who live in Kansas City, Missouri, and she has 5 grandchildren. I have to say, quickly, as one of her classmates in the class in 1974, Donna was always such a joy to be around. Easy to be with, very kind, and honestly, I'm not so sure that we white girls were as kind and as intentional as we should have been with the 2 new African American classmates we had. I look back and I ask myself, was it our naivete or narcissism? Was it our ignorance or our insensibility? None of us meant to be exclusive, but we weren't really particularly inclusive. And clearly, our lack of intentionality was our loss. Because Donna has always been a woman of strength and an achiever, I think she's truly an example of a quote by Plutarch, who was a 1st century Greek author, who said, "What we achieve inwardly will change our outer reality." Donna's real depth and strength comes from within. Another lives within her. And at the end of the day, it won't be your good study habits, even your good grades, your political opinions, or your accomplishments that matter nearly as much as the condition of your heart. In the eternal scheme of things, what matters is how you love each other, how you treat each other with dignity and respect and kindness. So I encourage you to listen closely to Donna today. May her message be a catalyst for change and love for all of us. So let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Donna Osborne Bradley.
Good morning. I almost wanted to know who Kempy was talking about. She sounds like a pretty nice girl. So I worked in ministry in the inner city for 16 years. So I'm used to a little feedback. Now, I want y'all to know I was raised Episcopalian, okay? And I know how quiet the Episcopalian church can be. But I'm gonna need to hear a little amen or something so that I know that you hear me, okay? It's all right, y'all can make some noise, right? That's all right? So when Jasmine called me and asked about what it was like to be the first African American student at St. Mary's, I was blown away. I'm thinking it took 45 years for somebody to ask the question. And I just asked Jasmine, how did you come to call me? And she said, I don't know, just one day we were like, who integrated to school anyway? And so she started digging and found out, and that was how she called. But I wondered, why did it take so long for somebody to even ask the question? And I'm gonna tell you, I didn't wanna cry before I even started talking, but when I look out, man, am I just so proud. It's a bouquet out there. And at one time, what you saw was all white and me. Because Candy was fair in complexion, very fair. She looked like y'all. And so she was very difficult to pick out. But I wasn't hard to pick out. I was like, there she is, you know. Where's the, at that time, the term was Negro. Where's the Negro girl? Where's the colored girl? There she is. Very easy to pick me out. So I was thinking, what did it feel like for a 12-year-old me? When my mother sent me here, she didn't tell me you were going to integrate to school. She just said, you're going to St. Mary's. I thought that it was okay with me because there was a girl that was bullying me. Well, she was a big old girl too. And I didn't want to go to my neighborhood high school because I didn't want, this girl was going to beat me up. And I just didn't want to, so it was okay. But I was trying to remember, what did it feel like as a 12-year-old? And I remember feeling very out of place. I remember there was someone assigned, and I'm going to put a period there and say, some things the Lord has allowed me to forget. I can remember what was said, but He has taken away my memory of who said it, and I thank Him for that. But I remember there was someone assigned to show me around. I remember Mary Davis, of course. I remember Dr. Hughes. And I remember someone taking me on a tour. But what I remember most of all is that these girls called Reverend Banks, Banks. They called Mrs. Ward, Fanny. And that disturbed me. These were older African-American people. They were working on the janitorial and custodial staff. Why are you calling them by their first names? It was Mrs. Ward. It was Reverend Banks. So a 12-year-old me viewed St. Mary's girls. Have y'all seen the movie The Help? That's how I saw y'all. That's how I saw St. Mary's girls, as girls that grew up in wealthy families who, before me, the only African-American people they knew were their maids, their nannies, their gardeners, servants. And I don't think they knew how to treat me because that was all they knew. I remember not feeling included in anything. But I participated in some activities. I sang in the choir, was in the beta club, what else did I do? Y'all remember? Anything else I did? But even through that, on a choir tour, I remember the people at the church were supposed to house us. And Lucian Lawson and I were partners. And everybody had been paired up with somebody. And Lucian and I were left there. And finally, this old lady comes and she says, y'all come with me. And she took us to her home and she said, the reason I waited until everybody's left is because I didn't want anybody to see me take you to my house. That was in 1973. So the next day, everybody came back talking about what a good time they had, and their host families took them here, took them there. They went out to eat, they had a ball. I don't even think Lucian and I had dinner. And the lady had bed bugs. So I remember that experience. A 12-year-old me saw the world so differently than I see it now. So we were having an alumni phone call. I don't even know how this came about, but most of us were on one call. And they were going on and on, like the girls in the help. Do y'all remember when we did this? And do y'all remember when we did that? And the ski trips in Aspen? And no, I don't remember any of that. I wasn't included in that. I didn't go horseback riding. I wasn't at the sleepovers. I wasn't invited to Young Life, Aspen ski trips. Their memories were very different from mine. So what happened for a moment is you could hear a pin drop. And then somebody said, I wanted to invite you, but my parents wouldn't let me. And somebody else said, I just never even thought about it. And we talked for a few minutes. It was really kind of a healing moment for me. I don't think not one time that anybody intentionally excluded me or anybody intentionally tried to hurt me. I don't believe that for a moment. I think nobody thought about it. It was the times when it was acceptable for our worlds to be separate. In fact, not long before that, by law, our worlds were separate. So at that time, all of these Christian schools were popping up because the courts had ordered integration, and parents didn't want their kids to go to school with black and brown kids. They wanted to keep it separate. So you had all of these Christian private schools popping up about the same time that I came to St. Mary's. So St. Mary's administration at that time, they were movers and shakers. They were controversial. I mean, it was a major decision that they made when they allowed me to come to the school. I've been to St. Mary's a couple of times before now, and it was still pretty white. And I thought, what's the problem? But I'm telling you, y'all are beautiful out there right now. Yeah, give yourselves a hand. I think it was Rainey that told me St. Mary's is now 30% black and brown. And where's Rainey? Did I cry? Didn't I cry? I started bawling when that happened because I started thinking, okay, maybe it was worth it. I want to tell you that in the midst of all that, I do have some good memories of St. Mary's. I remember singing in the senior den with Beth Carson. She walked into the party like she was Carly Simon. I remember Carole King, and in fact, I got accused many times by my peers of being a white girl because I'm singing Carole King. And the father-daughter dance is another good memory that I had. So most importantly, that feeling of loneliness and being isolated and being excluded and being different was probably what hurt me more than anything. But having an opportunity, and I thank God for it, to share it with my classmates and just to make them aware that that was how I felt has been priceless, because since that day, I have felt so included among the class of 74. Since that day, I found that we have more in common than we do different. Our skin's a different hue, but we all love our grandkids. We love our kids. We love Jesus. That's the tie that binds. We have a lot more in common than not. I didn't get to meet y'all's boyfriends that went to MUS. Y'all didn't even try to introduce me to a boy at MUS. But that's okay. It's all good. What she say? Like maybe that was a good thing I didn't. Oh, but the point is that my memories were different. My memories were not the same. I want to close with a verse that I think sums it up. Galatians 3:27. As many of you were baptized into Christ, have clothed yourselves with Christ. There is no longer Jew or Greek. There is no longer male or female. For all of you are one in Christ Jesus. And if you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's offspring, heirs to the promise. So all I ask of all of you is to make your decisions about people based on that person's character. Make your decisions about people based on anything except their outward appearance. I ask you, if you don't already have a friend that looks like you, make one. Make a friend that doesn't look like you. Everybody should have a friend that doesn't look like them. We learn from one another. We embrace our differences. And whatever you do, include those that may feel excluded or on the fringes. And it's been, y'all have no idea how emotional it is just to even be back at St. Mary's and to walk the hallowed halls of SMS. But and one more thing I want to tell you is, when I left St. Mary's, y'all know that, did y'all know there's all kinds of things that St. Mary's girls don't do? St. Mary's girls don't run the hall. St. Mary's girls don't chew gum. St. Mary's girls, y'all know that. Don't act like you don't know. There's a standard for being a St. Mary's girls. Am I right? Amen? Okay. Well, when I left St. Mary's, I did everything St. Mary's girls wasn't supposed to do. But I also thank God for bringing me through that. And now I would like to think that I exemplify the standards of a St. Mary's girl. I want to take a minute and thank Miss Davis. My friend Vivian came with me from Memphis, from St. Louis. Miss Davis is my mama in the absence of my mama. And Miss Baker, Miss Gill, where are you? That lady changed my life, y'all. When I came to St. Mary's, having come from public school, I had to go through a remedial English class after school, and she made me diagram thousands of sentences. But because of that, I have to say I'm a pretty good writer, and because of that, my students cannot stand me. Because I'm telling them, read it aloud. When you pause, put a comma, So I just wanted to take a minute and recognize them. And the class of 74, where are you? Come on. Yeah. So thank you, Jasmine and Sneha. Where are y'all? Where are y'all? Thank you for asking the question, and I'm speechless at how beautiful y'all are.